Welcome aboard the new patient group flight deck. Less chaos. Check. Less stress. Check. Less advertising costs. Check. More personal and financial freedom. Check. All right, business checklist completed. Let the takeoff roll begin. Welcome to Season 7 of the New Patient Group Audio Experience, a podcast dedicated to forward-thinking doctors wanting to learn innovative ways to run their business today so your practice can achieve new heights tomorrow. And now your host. He's the founder and CEO of New Patient Group, managing partner of RightChat, and a trusted motivational speaker for Invisalign, OrthoFi, and others. Brian Wright.
Hey, New Patient Group and RightChat Nation. Welcome inside the broadcast booth. Brian Wright here, and welcome in to another edition of the New Patient Group podcast. If you're watching over on our YouTube station, hey there to all of you. Thanks for your support. Give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends and colleagues, and make some comments, get some dialogue going. If you're watching, listening over on the Audio Experience channels, please write us a 5-star review. And how you do that, somebody brought this up to me the other day that they wanted to, but they didn't know how. I'm going to just give you an example. If you have an iPhone and you have that purple podcast app, just go in the search bar, just put in New Patient Group Podcast and hit the one that comes up on top. That'll send you to the home page of the New Patient Group Podcast on iTunes. Scroll down until you see the 5 stars. And if you scroll down under that, you'll see a place where it says write a review. Would really mean a lot to us if you write one. Just like your practice wants 5-star reviews, these 5-star reviews really help us. It increases our rankings. It helps us be more visible when people are searching around online, and we can continue growing this wonderful underground following that we have, very loyal following that we have, and excited for it. Excited as we keep growing along. And today, we're going to be talking about the second way that you can accomplish the definition of customer service. How you know you've reached the pinnacle of customer service. That is what we went through with a 4-part series last month. If you have not listened to that, as I've been saying, you got to listen to it. We talked about, how do the famous companies view customer service? They view it very differently. But one of the things they all do is they all have the same definition, so their employees know what they're trying to accomplish. Right? A big problem with customer experience, patient experience, is that if you ask 100 people, you're going to get 100 different responses on what it means. Well, if that's the case, you are never going to accomplish it. But there's an actual foundational Webster's type dictionary definition of customer service that we dove into in part 1 last month. The rest of the additional 3 that we launched last month were how you know you're achieving it. Well, now we're in the midst of, now that you know that you're achieving it, now we're talking about how the heck do you do it, right? And it's easier said than done for sure, but it is why New Patient Group, it exists. It is the single most fundamental reason that I created the company many years ago, is I know the more commoditized you get, I know the more shoppers you have, I know the more choices you have. The end result, experience wins. Experience drives sales. Experience drives customer loyalty. Experience drives compliance from your customers. So patient compliance, brushing, scanning, showing up, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The type of experience you offer will get them to do it. Experience drives conversion, higher cash flow, production, revenue, all the things that you hopefully want out there. More efficiency, less chaos, less stress. Could go on and on. Experience solves all. But the mistake that you must not make, and this is one of the biggest ones I see, and this is in all industries, but I see it because of our niche in orthodontics and other healthcare professions. The mistake I see oftentimes is, we're nice, we don't need it. Here's the reality. Every one of you out there needs ongoing experience training. And the beauty of experience is that it can never hurt your business, right? If you're trying to implement different techniques in here and it's all related around growing my production, it may or may not work. If your mindset is, how do I offer a better new patient experience? How do I offer a better existing patient experience? How do I offer a better employee experience? And your mindset is constantly there, then you will always win. You will always win the infinite game if you get your mind off the data books, if you get your mind off the finite data that you cannot control and that oftentimes is lying to you. Get it off of there and focus on experience. Now, that's the series we're in right now. It's why New Patient Group exists. Part 1 of this, if you haven't listened to it this month, part 1 talks about the very first thing you must have, and it's culture. It's culture through extraordinary leadership. And that is the foundational principle of New Patient Group. Regardless of what you are trying to do out there, if you are trying to onboard a company, switching from one clear aligner to Invisalign is an example, switching from one bracket system to another, the reality is you must be a fantastic leader to create a specific culture that allows you to dominate. It is the number one return of any marketing investment, but it's also the least invested in. Why? Because it's not instant. It's not instant gratification. So a lot of people are, hey, I want to increase my production. The last thing you're thinking about is culture, when it's probably the biggest thing keeping you from the finite data that you want to see. It's very, very hard to convince people of this, and this is the beauty, because the ones that understand it, the ones that fully grasp it, that's why they are constantly kicking butt. And there's so many people out there. Remember, Dr. Boyd Whitlock, shout out to you, man. I remember when we first started years ago, he had made a comment that, I had already thought we had a good culture, but wow, as New Patient Group worked with us, we realized we didn't. And here's the thing. This does not mean that your culture stinks. This does not mean you're a bad leader, right? It doesn't mean that. It means that culture, leadership, and things like that are an infinite game of ongoing pursuit, ongoing training, ongoing mindset shifts, right? It is a never-ending game. And as long as you realize that, and as long as you look at it as an ongoing thing, there is no finish line, you will always be ahead of other people, businesses out there. Always. Now, today we're going to be diving into one that I bang my head against the wall, not understanding this, because as I go around traveling and we eat at restaurants with docs, and I see the leaky holes everywhere in restaurants. As I travel around doing workshops for practices, and I sit in there and watch patients and just see the leaky holes, they're everywhere. But it goes back to the leaky holes, oftentimes you can't see on paper, right? As far as experience goes, how you greet people, how you interact with them, how you showcase your digital workflow, how you answer your new patient and existing patient calls, how your assistants just interact with people that have spent $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000+ with you, how they interact with the family, the patient, how they have compliance discussions, how they ask for referrals and video testimonials, how your TC interacts with families, little words said here and there that actually detract from your brand as opposed to add to it, how people present money. Our financial presentation course, I start off that course and I talk about, I think it's right around, it's like 11, 12, or 13 mistakes made when presenting money. Literally, as I travel around and watch treatment coordinators present money, every single one of them makes almost 100% of those mistakes that I identify in that course. Some make 80, 90%, right? Some make them all. But I've never seen a treatment coordinator not make at least 80% of those mistakes, right? But these are things that you can't put your finger on, right? When you see your cash flow down, your conversion down, or even if you're happy with your conversion, there's a whole nother world that you could get to, right? But these are things that you can't pinpoint them because it's finite data. And this all leads me into the second way you achieve the pinnacle of customer service. It's the second foundational item of New Patient Group is how you commit to uniquely and repetitively training your people. Look, this is why it goes back to culture, because next month, most likely we're going to be coming out with our second Fireside Chat edition of the podcast. And Dr. Mark Olson and I just did a national webinar, and it was our second one. Did Bob Skopak the first one and Mark the second one. And we talked about a lot of really cool things. But one of the things he talked about is, experience training and committing to being a brand that is above and beyond what people would expect is hard work. Right? It's not something where, we're not consultants. Again, it goes back to we are coaches. We hold your hand. We practice. We role play. We hold you accountable. We're there for repetition. We're there to make sure good gets great and great gets even better. And we're there to plug the weaknesses and keep getting those better. And as one drops and the other goes up, that's what humans are. And that's why we're there to consistently make sure things aren't going backwards, right? Are you always going to have a perfect year? Of course not. You're going to have backwards years, but those are always going to be less backwards backwards years than other people that cannot get their head out of the finite data, cannot get their head out of the data sheet, cannot get their head out of thinking they just need advertising and pay-per-click. It's crazy, as we talk about on the Right Chat side, you'll hear people go, you're too expensive. And I just laugh because it's like, you just told me you spent $5,000 to $8,000 a month in pay-per-click ads, but you don't see the value in investing in something that actually is going to convert those ads into customers, into people that show up ready to buy. Lower your no-shows, represent your brand in a way that is absolutely unstoppable. And right, you don't see value in that, but you see value investing something that is simply a Band-Aid on the real wounds that exist. And if you look at all these interactions that your team has with people, they don't have anything to do with orthodontics. Now, the beauty is that because we know orthodontics, we're able to train in a way that is very unique compared to anybody that exists inside your bubble out there. They don't know what they don't know. You could ask them 30 psychological phrases, and they wouldn't know the answer to probably any of them. And today is not about us, but today this series going on is absolutely about the foundational reasons that I created this company. I looked inside healthcare and I said, look, just like an Italian restaurant, when there's 6 choices, the best food does not win. That is part of the recipe, right? How you plate it, how you cook it, where you source your food, how you invest in high quality ingredients instead of nickel and dime the data sheet and have low quality ingredients. Right? All of that, the chef skills, of course that matters. Just like all of you, your clinical skill sets matter greatly. And do you invest in the best materials or do you nickel and dime things, right? It's the same thing. You're the chef. But what really makes restaurants work is the culture of the organization, is the mindset, the leadership abilities of the leadership team. It's also how you train your waiters to interact with the table. There's and I'm going to have a podcast about this, but Coppa Osteria, if you're ever in Houston, Coppa Osteria is one of my favorite Italian restaurants in the country. And it is top notch. Ask for Beto. So you've got to have Beto as your waiter. And Beto's one of these guys that can sit there and talk about the specials in a way that gets you to buy them, right? And that adds so much additional revenue over time to the restaurant, where if you have other waiters, they're not that good, right? They articulate the specials, but it's just blah. It doesn't make you want to get it. It doesn't make you feel special while spending more money. And this all goes back to, right, 1, standardizing your message, but 2, the importance of training. Look, when people are looking around, just like the Italian restaurant, when people are looking around, and the other thing that makes that Italian restaurant is their digital marketing, how their website is, how personalized is, does it have video gifts? How's the menu showcase? Are there videos from the chef? Are there videos from the manager? Can you meet and greet the waiters before you even come in, like with little bios on there? Right? It's how it makes you feel, how it's interacting. Like, is there a YouTube station filled with live camera feeds from the kitchen and the chef on there? Or is it just blank like most people? How's their social media interact with you? And for many of you out there, these are 3 areas you suffer great in, whether you want to admit it or not. It is a fact. Your culture, because of your leadership, how you train your people, and how you do your digital marketing. And when you quote them, when you combine those 3 together into a story, look, whenever you're a speaker, you get invited back for being a great storyteller. It's the same way with all of you. All of your business is a story. Chapter to chapter is another interaction they have with your business, right? Culture, digital marketing, new patient phone call, all the way down the journey. And how you commit to training your people in a unique way to interact with your customer and prospective customer in a way that they have not had before with any people business. Like, I want all of you to forget that you're an orthodontic practice, and I want you to go, I want my people trained in a way that's going to represent my brand in a way that's going to absolutely dominate everybody in my community. Forget the other orthodontist, forget the other dentist, forget the pedo, forget et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They are not your true competition. Sure, are they part of it? Of course. But they are not your real competition. Your competition is you. It's your team. It's your culture. It's what you view as important. It's your mindset. That is your competition. And how any of you out there cannot see value in having your team trained by experts in sales, hospitality, verbiage, presentation, the psychology of the consumer, so people know what to say, when to say it, how to say it, and why to say it, right? Because the order of your verbiage, how you present it, what time you present it, when you present it, all that stuff, it all matters. It all has an impact on whether or not somebody buys from you and buys from you at a high price, which is what we teach. We want you to be the highest or close to of all the opinions. This is something I've taught for years. If everybody out there is offering a free consult, you better charge for it. If everyone's charging for their consults, you need to be free. You've got to be the opposite, but you've got to train your team. Like we have several new patient group, not several, but we have some now with new patient group that are charging for the new patient consult. And they get away with it because of one, how the receptionists, these ones use RightChat, so my agents are selling why you should give me a credit card over the phone. And it's very successful. I know the new patient call, you could take out Dr. Rob Schaefer, shout out, buddy, like their new patient call conversion using RightChat to answer the new patient calls in the mid-90s, right? So all of you know the conversion rate in orthodontics right now as it stands is in the 60s. Your new patient phone call is in the 60% conversion ranking, right? Meaning that for every, you're losing 3 or 4 new patients for every 10 that call your practice. And that doesn't even include the amount that you don't answer when you're fully staffed during regular business hours. We have the data on that, and the data is alarming. But back to the training point. If I'll give you a perfect example, you take a restaurant, and this is why I want all of you, I don't even want to give orthodontic examples before. I need all of you to use your imagination on how what I'm about to say applied to digital workflow, TC exam, doctor exam, presenting money, pending treatment follow-up, OBS, assistants, chairside. You all having tough conversations whenever someone's mad at you for they can't get an appointment when they want. Right, new patient phone call, existing patient phone call, how you greet. If you want to do a welcome tour, it's a total waste of time if you don't know how to deliver it in a way that adds value, that moves people closer to sale. Your digital marketing content, how you speak to your employees. Right, there's a few different ways that I'm going to articulate this. And I want you to sit there and go, okay, which one's better? And let's take dessert with restaurants, okay? How do most do it? Most, first of all, do it that unless you bring it up, they don't even bring it up themselves, okay? And I actually have a podcast on that as it relates to Invisalign down the road and why, partnering with certain GPs, as difficult as it is for you, I actually want to put a spin on it using the dessert example that I just said. So most don't even bring it up. That's one way. Right. And then if you do bring it up, you're like, hey, do you have desserts? So like, yeah, we've got this, we got this, we got that, we got this. Then there's the other restaurant that actually does bring it up, but they bring it up like, will you be having dessert tonight? Right. Open-ended. It's a yes/no question. There's nothing special about it. There's nothing unexpected about it. There's nothing that's going to get people to say yes unless they absolutely are dead set on dessert. And even if they're dead set on dessert, what that presentation does is it keeps you from at least giving yourself a high percentage opportunity to get them to buy the highest priced dessert that you have. Okay? The next one is that you have restaurants that bring out, and I want you to look at all 4 of these I'm going to articulate, right? So we're 2 in. Obviously, the second one that I just described is better than the first. And as I describe these, I also want you to think to yourself, like, this is why culture matters, because culture is also mindset. Like, for this to ever actually happen in your restaurant, without the leadership and the mindset and the innovation and the forward thinkingness to create a culture, it's never going to be taught to the waiters. And in addition, when you're not looking, the waiters aren't going to do it. Like, this is how it works. None of these things I'm talking about this month operate as a standalone, right? Culture is the foundation that mixes together, but all 3 things, and we're in part 2, all these have to work together in harmony to help promote the other. The third one, and you've all experienced this, is the places that come out with a dessert tray, right? Now that's pretty good. right? We would all obviously say that if a waiter brings a dessert tray proactively to your table and says, hey, let me talk to you about these desserts, and he articulates the cheesecake that it's, and this and this and that, right? Obviously, that's a better way than the first two, right? And as you think about this with your practice, I want you to understand that there's always a better way. Like, you aren't good at anything. And what I mean by that is not that you're not good at anything. What I mean by that is no matter how good you think you are today, there's another level to go. Always. And this is a great example. For many of you out there that are higher level practices, you are the practice that brings the tray. You are the practice that showcases things better. You are the practice that probably uses digital workflow right. You are the practice that has a pretty darn good TC and doctor exam, right? You're the practice that stands out. And obviously, the dessert sales are going to be higher. And doing with you're showcasing the desserts and everything and talking about them properly, you're going to be able to increase the prices of the desserts. Now, here's the ironic thing. The desserts may not even taste that good. And this is the reality back to your clinical abilities. Of course, it matters. It matters big time. But the reality is, before they buy from you, all you can do is showcase things right. From, again, your employee experience, digital marketing, all these things. All you can do is showcase it in a way and present it in a way that makes you very unique, stand out amongst everybody else, and that is how you raise your prices. Right? Not letting people sit in the waiting room. Perfect way to raise your prices. Your time is respected, Mrs. Jones. You are never going to sit in our waiting room. We're going to greet you the moment you walk through the door. Every new patient phone call, you should be saying that. Why? Well, guess what? The other receptionist didn't. This is how you showcase things better. But your people have to be trained to execute the verbiage. But now we have option 4. Right. And I've worked with some restaurants in my life, and this is exactly how they do it. And this is exactly why their dessert sales go through the roof. But see, if all of you out there are just thinking you need advertising, again, you don't know what you don't know. And this is a perfect example of it. Meaning that if I walk to your table and I said, Mr. and Mrs. Wright, really appreciate you dining with us tonight. It's been a great experience working with you. Hope you really enjoyed your evening. Have our desserts here. And they are absolutely fantastic. And I'm going to walk you through each one because I really am proud the way the chef, how he sources the ingredients, how he puts them together, how his passion is to really making everything in-house and stand out for our customers. So I'm going to go through these for you. Right, we've got the cheesecake. Now, this cheese is sourced from Italy. We actually bring that in. We ship it in. It's aged actually 3 years before we actually even use it to make the cheesecake. The sauce is a strawberry sauce. It's made in-house. The strawberries are organic right from our own personal farm. And it is all made with the chef and the chef only. We do not outsource it. He does not let anybody else even touch it. It's his. He makes it. It's fantastic. Now, to save time today, I want you to imagine there being 8 trays. Remember, a lot of times when people bring you the options, there's so many, it's hard to make a choice. This is why you have to execute and articulate this in a very specific way. So let's say there's 8 to 10 on the tray. I'm not going to go through each one. But see, the edification that I just did about the chef is exactly what we train on and how the team needs to talk about you. Because you are the investment. I am not buying Invisalign. I am not buying braces. I am not buying any other tool that exists. I'm buying you. And you better make that flip. It's just like at a restaurant. You are not buying the Italian dish. You are buying the chef that makes it. You are buying the culture of the organization. Right? And in order to buy it, the waiter has to articulate it in a way that's going to get me to buy what you as a restaurant want. It's the same thing in orthodontics, dentistry, etc. But moving on to that 4th example, let's say the cheesecake, and I walk through all of them. Here's the key that's going to increase dessert sales. Mr. and Mrs. Wright, I know there's a lot of options I just went over. And yes, they are all amazing. They are all so good. But I'm going to narrow it down to 2 for you. And the reason I'm going to do that is based on the wine that you had this evening, based on the meal you had, I'm going to narrow it down to 2 that are absolutely going to finish off your meal in a really special night in the best of ways. Right? And it's going to be, let's just say, I'm making believe, let's just say it's the cheesecake and the chocolate desiccant cake. Okay. Would you like me to bring both of those out for you, or just one or the other? Which would you prefer? This is how you drastically increase dessert sales in a restaurant. See, there was not, are you going to have anything tonight? There was, hey, look, I'm bringing you both or one or the other. You don't have a choice. Right now, of course, it wasn't articulated that way, but this is how you are going to drive people to make decisions in your favor. Now, the waiters have to be trained on how to pair the desserts with the proper wine, the proper meals, just like in your practice. They've got to be trained on the digital workflow and how that can enhance the exam room process, and how the exam room process, if you build enough value, can benefit the financial presentation, and how your new patient phone call, if you train people in a way, can use edification to get people excited to even show up in the first place, how it can get them psychologically prepared to buy because you're edifying things around why your chef is better, hence why your doctor is better, why your menu is better, hence why your digital workflow is better. See, what you all have to do is get your head out of the healthcare clouds and understand that you're a people over procedure operation. You are a people first business operation. And if you view yourself that way, you can grab examples from all kinds of successful businesses all across the world as you travel. But you can also pinpoint these leaky holes in every business you walk into, and guess what? Those holes are happening to you as well. The issue that I will go back to now that you've heard me say 1,000 times if you follow me and follow our companies is that nothing that I just described to you will show up on your data sheet. Restaurants cannot say on their data sheet our waiters are not presenting it in an effective sales-oriented manner that get people to buy because they feel really special, right? The experience of the verbiage and presentation drove the increase in dessert sales, but you cannot see it in your restaurant/practice management software. This is why when you focus on experience training and you focus on constantly improving culturally your employee experience, but now from a training perspective, how you train your waiters, your assistants, your receptionists, your TCs, if you train them in a way that is focused on being better with people, you will always win. You will always win. And I just bang my head repeatedly over and over and over on why more of you out there, the reps for dental monitoring, for Invisalign, for OrthoFi, etc. on down the line, doctors listening, team members listening, why you all can't wrap your head around if you want more starts, if you're an Invisalign practice, you want more Invisalign cases. If you're a remote dental monitoring, you want more DM cases. OrthoFi, you want to grow your practices so you make and you benefit from the production increase. It's not about your freaking product. It's about ensuring that the culture of the organization is set up in a way where they are constantly innovating, holding people accountable, training their leaders to be great. That was the first foundation of New Patient Group. Right? And it's what I talked about in part 1 of this series. Now, in part 2, then you've got to train people. If you want more remote monitoring sales, you have to train the edification on the phone call. You've got to train the TC how to make it an integral part of the TC exam process. You have to train on these things. And that training doesn't have anything to do with remote monitoring. Of course, you have to have knowledge of it. But the verbiage and presentation skills and the sales fundamentals and the edification verbiage and language and the feature advantage benefit language, etc. down the line has nothing to do with the healthcare environment, has everything to do with being a people first business. This is how you showcase things in a way that gets people to spend more money, that increases your conversion, matches the definition of customer service. You getting what you want as a business. Meanwhile, the customer believes they've got more than expected from you. It's the same thing with the wine menu, right? What do most places do? Well, the wine menu sits on the frickin' table. Yet they think they need advertising, right? They don't give you a little bit of a tour through the kitchen and bring you to the table and then do a little welcome tour over the wine menu. Like, there's places that do that. If you walked into one of our restaurants, absolutely they would do that. Like, this is how you upsell the table from the $100 bottle of wine to the $200 bottle of wine. Right? And the problem is there's these leaky holes all over restaurants that they don't feel. And this is exactly what happens to all of you. The lack of unique training that you commit to providing your people, only going inside your little orthodontic bubble, thinking that those people would ever be hired to help a restaurant, right? When the same skill sets apply. This is what I've banged my head on the wall for years, trying to change the mindset of an industry to stop looking inside your bubble for non-orthodontic, non-dentistry, non-pedo, non-plastic surgery, non-optometry, etc. things. Right? The articulation of the desserts of the wine have nothing to do with the wine or the desserts. It has everything to do with learning how to present in a psychological format that drives behavior in your favor while people feel really great at the same time. And this is the TC exam. This is the doctor exam. This is the new patient call. It's taking the same with the restaurants. The other restaurants have desserts. The other restaurants have similar menus. The other restaurants have waiters. They have chefs. They have tables. They've got bars. They've got bartenders. They have front desk people, etc. Just like all of you. And in the mind of most consumers, you are all the same, whether you want to hear it or not. So if you take this type training, this commitment to every interaction you and your people have, training them in a way to know how to handle it well, know how to advance your brand forward, you will not believe how your patient compliance improves, your patient referrals improve, your patient video testimonials go up, your conversion goes up, people put down more when they buy treatment, so your cash flow goes up, right? Your new patient phone call conversion goes up. Right? Your production, your revenue, all the lag measures, all the finite data that you cannot control, all win by you having, part one, a wonderful culture through great leadership, and part two, repetitively training your people on the unique skill sets they have to do for you at a high level every day, but usually get little to no training from experts on how to do it. It is a total game changer. But again, is it easy? No. So that's what I say. It's what Mark Olson and I talked about in the National Fireside Chat webinar the other day. It's not easy, right? And there's going to be a period of time where it actually may get worse for a while. But it is amazing if you stick with it, what happens. And I want all of you to use your imagination, because you're never going to be able to put your finger on these leaky holes. You want to grow Invisalign? You better have a better mindset and culture. Your leadership better look at the business differently. Your employee experience has to be a certain way. You've got to train your people how to articulate the wine menu and the desserts and the specials for the evening. Same thing with the waiters, right? If you want to make more money, the waiters have to be trained how to sell the specials to the table while the table feels really damn good at spending $20 more a plate to get them. There is an art to that. There is an art to that, and that is not what people in your bubble know how to teach. It's just that reality. No matter where you are, your practice is thriving, your practice is in the tank, your practice is somewhere in the middle. Building a better culture and training your people how to sell using experience, verbiage, presentation, psychology, etc., will transform you in wherever area you want. You want to grow more? Think experience. You want to convert more? Think experience. You want lower employee turnover so you can keep the good ones and get rid of the bad ones? Think experience. You want better patient compliance? Think experience. You want more patient referrals? Think experience. All go back to the definition last month that I talked about. Part one this month of building a better culture and always having that on your mindset. And part two that we talked about today is commit to training your people in a unique manner that other people-first businesses in your area will not commit to. They're out wasting their money outside their doors on advertising. Meanwhile, you keep reinvesting it in better experiences, and you will not believe the results. I hope everybody enjoyed today. A quick offer for all of you out there, Right Chat customers. I want to speak to you first, or if you're interested in Right Chat, we now guarantee that we will triple your return on investment with us or all your money back. All right. So reach out to Right Chat. Now is a great time to get started because of that guarantee. It is risk-free and we will triple your return on investment or your money back. With New Patient Group, got a great offer for you there too. If you want to commit to what I'm talking about, if you want to represent your brand better, if you want to accomplish whatever it is that you want to accomplish, New Patient Group can help you. And we're now offering your best year ever or your money back. With both companies, we are producing such unbelievable returns that we now know we can offer these guarantees and confidently back them and know it's going to absolutely happen. So reach out to one or both companies. We would love to help you. Let us do what we teach passionately behind this podcast, Mike. Let us bring that inside your doors and produce your best returns of all time. All right, everybody, thank you so much. I appreciate your support. We'll be back with part 3 this month soon. Talk to everybody later. Bye-bye.